Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Goes to 11 Vise Squad, brought to you by Anadrobus Fly Company and Fly Life Company. My name is Bryce Miller, and I am your Sunday host. After you've watched this clip, head over to our awesome online stores at fishingandoutdoors.ca for Canadian shoppers, and fishingandoutdoors.net for U.S. and international shoppers. And go to our shop to see our sponsored products and so much more. Today at the Vise, I'm going to show you how to tie a pheasant tail nymph. So in the vise we got a 2.8 millimeter tungsten gold bead and a size 14 nymph hook from R7. Yeah, get our bead up there first of all. And then we're going to start our thread down the hook shank. Something important about this fly is we need to make sure that everything as we start it and even to the point where we finish it stays symmetrical. Nice flat wraps. Alright, we don't want to go quite to the bend of the hook today. Snip off our tag end. And we already have our body set for this fly. Something fun about it. If you visualize it the whole way, you can keep your body nice and symmetrical. We're going to take 6 pheasant tail fibers for this fly, for the tail, at least. We're going to measure it out to be 1 hook shank length. So you get your fibers aligned. They should be, for the most part, aligned off the feather. You got them aligned, you got them at that length, and that's what we're going to tie it in at. And bring your thread not all the way up to the bead, but about right there. And that little measurement will help us when we're trying to decide where to put the thorax. We are going to put some wraps behind the bead though. Help set it in place here in the future. We don't want to actually set it in place now. We want to get it closer than it would be, thinking ahead. So now we are going to tie in a piece of copper wire. We can. Let's try the other side, a little flatter. Maybe when you have those ends like that. There we go. We're going to tie along the side, not the top of the hook shank. Once again, nice even wraps. It's just going to leave this fly looking good. So we're going to take back what we cut off. Tie them in from the side that you cut them from. Just again, measure them out with the hook shank, with the wraps we already have. And there we go. And because of the way we tied them in, we actually have a little bit of a taper now. We're just going to aid that a little bit, not much. Alright. And we're going to start wrapping these fibers. Right to where we stopped to wait for the thorax. And we just had a fiber break on us. It's not very cool. Thankfully we got this one thick enough, it's not going to affect anything, so we're just going to snip it right out of there. But that's a good indication of how fragile pheasant tail fibers are. So for that reason, we're going to counter wrap it with this wire. For the most part, I usually have about 3 to 3.5 wraps of copper wire. And then we're going to tie it off. helicopter. Alright, so now we're going to tie in a piece of holographic opal tinsel that we're going to use as a flashback, similar to what we had when we did the Copper John. Yeah, it was Copper John that we did that with. So if you didn't watch that video, head there now. And if you did, you should recognize this. Snip off this tag end. There we go. And now we're going to take 6 more pheasant tail fibers. The first time it wasn't quite as important as it is now to count. Now it's very important because these are going to be our legs of the nymph. So they're going to be down either side of the nymph. We want to make sure they're the same amount. 3 on each side. So take your time when you're counting them. Don't try to rush yourself because that's how you end up with one less. One extra is not quite as bad because you can pluck it. But one less, well, it's the same thing as you can't cut twice, or cut twice and it's still too small. Words of wisdom today. Count it twice and it's still not enough. I guess that still doesn't work. But oh well. It's my time behind the camera. I get to say what I want to say. Alright, so we have our fibers here. And first of all, we'll line them up. But after we do that, these are really hard to decide how to measure. Something I've always came up with is it's not very helpful, but measure half the body and then just a little bit less than that. Try to visualize where that was. And if it works its way inside the bead, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So that way you're already going to be pointed in the right direction. Use your hands to work them around. Make sure they're where you want them. Once again, take your time with this nymph. Snip this off. This fly is commonly thought of as one of the easier flies to tie. A lot of people call it what should be your first fly. I disagree. This was a fly that I put off and put off and put off because I struggled with it. And then once I really learned how to tie flies, I sat down and relearned it, and it was way easier. It's something that, if you go to tie this fly first, as one of your first flies, and don't get discouraged. You're not the only one who struggles with it. So now we're using Peacock ice dubbing from Hairline instead of Peacock feather, Peacock curl, because I like the way that it builds thorax better, honestly. I'll use both, but for this fly in particular, we're going to use the Peacock dubbing, Peacock ice dubbing. I'm going to just slowly but surely fill up that thorax. That way it's nice and even throughout. You don't want like half your thorax being twice the size of the rest of it. So just dub it on your thread. Slide it to where you want it. And then dub it onto the body. Take scissors here and pull that back a little bit. Alright, this little extra, it's okay. Ice dubbing will let you kind of just pluck it and be just fine. And now we're going to bring our wing case over. And pull our fibers to the side of it and then down. Trap it. and get it so that it lines up with the eye of the hook. It's a good way to tell that you're where you want it to be. And a couple more wraps to cinch it down. Fill in behind the bead. We're gonna put a few more wraps. First, we're gonna snip this off. We're gonna fill in something when you're filling in your bead. Every now and then, give it a little twist. That way, if your wraps are getting caught underneath, happens a lot with scud hooks for me. Well, then it releases it. You don't want to get it caught underneath because then you have uneven wraps. You're gonna have uneven wraps there. Not good by any means. So now we're gonna half hitch off. Three for good measure. Take a look at it. Make sure you got everything where you want it. Sometimes that ice dubbing will get a little messy on you. These scissors, these squeeze scissors from Anadromous, particularly the ones with the curved tip, really nice for getting in here and cleaning it up. Or you leave it buggy. There's nothing wrong with leaving buggy flies. Alright. So next, kind of a small little thing, but something I like to do. I'm going to give the wing case a little dab of Gulff thinman UV resin. So just let it pop a little bit better in the water. Kind of a dome look to it, or dome effect to it. That's all the more it takes. It'll also help set your last few wraps. I don't know if you guys can tell from the camera angle, but that wing case now has a little bubble on it. So that is your size 14 pheasant tail. Bead head pheasant tail nymph in particular. I guess the traditional is not tied with the bead head. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're looking to buy some great outdoor gear, fishing gear, and even fly tying supplies, once again visit fishingandoutdoors.ca and fishingandoutdoors.net for US and international shoppers. Please give this video a thumbs up and also click that little subscribe button and reminder bell, that way you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again, and I look forward to see you guys next Sunday.